Good Friday evening to you. I'm Mike Naso with the latest on the tropics. We have a lot to cover. We have two systems. On the left side of your screen, we have a tropical depression, which is forecast to become a tropical storm and then a hurricane and hit the Yucatan and move into the Gulf of Mexico. And in the middle of your screen, we have Tropical Storm Laura, which looks to also be a hurricane in the eastern Gulf of Mexico, and they might be in there as a hurricane simultaneously, which is an extremely rare event. Don't let the media or social media fool you. They're not going to combine into a super Sharknado with, flying saucers or anything, but there could be some interaction between the two, and it's a big situation that we're going to have to deal with. You can see off Africa, we also have this tropical wave we're watching. This could become a feature down the road, but right now let's get right to it because Laura is the system we're going to cover first. This is the latest on Tropical Storm Laura as of 5 p.m. Atlantic time, which is Eastern time. Laura was at 17.1 north, 61.2 west, winds of 45. It's moving west at 17, and the forecast keeps it near or over the Virgin Islands tonight, over Puerto Rico tomorrow, over the north coast of the Dominican and Haiti on Sunday, and then by Monday near Cuba. So if it stays around land, that should keep Laura in check. If it moves on the northern edge of this, it's going to be over water more and could strengthen. However, come Monday, this system could have open waters of the Gulf of Mexico and be able to intensify into a hurricane, and that is the forecast. By Tuesday and Wednesday, we could have a potent hurricane approaching the north-central Gulf Coast. Again, it could be on the northern edge or the southern edge, and that's why we have mandatory evacuations for mobile homes and live-aboard vessels on the Florida Keys right now. I did want to note watches and warnings we have out for Laura. We have a tropical storm warning in effect for Puerto Rico, including Vieques and Calabre, the U.S. Virgin Islands, the British Virgin Islands, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Martin, St. Barthélemy, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla, and Montserrat, as well as the north coast of the Dominican Republic to the border with Haiti and the southeast Bahamas, including the Turks and the Caicos Islands. All under tropical storm warnings, as this wind field of tropical storm winds is going to batter these areas of the Greater Antilles over the next 2 to 3 days as Laura moves off towards the west. Laura doesn't look that great, I gotta be honest with you. She's been struggling. In fact, it was looking pretty bad yesterday. She's still a little elongated, and there's trouble finding the exact center. The hurricane center's kind of estimating it. Oh, by the way, we do have a couple of NOAA airplanes, Kermit, Gonzo, Miss Piggy, and they're flying, I believe, Gonzo and Miss Piggy from St. Croix to kind of check out the environment around Laura to give us some kind of idea of what the future may hold. Right now, if you're in the islands, gusty winds and heavy rainfall, especially in these squalls that develop, but the organization is not that great. Better than yesterday, though. As I mentioned, the rainfall here is going to come and go in waves. There is some good decent precip out there, but we're not really seeing a well-defined center, nothing like an eye wall or, nothing that indicates significant organization. And that shouldn't come until once the system gets north of, say, eastern Cuba. Then we'd be dealing with something a little more dangerous in terms of strengthening. But right now, heavy weather for the northern islands of the Caribbean with Laura. Now, closer to home, we have our Tropical Depression 14. Now, as of 5 p.m., this was at 17.7 north, 84.3 west, winds of 35. It's moving northwest now at 13. Now, this looked like it would strengthen much quicker. In fact, we were thinking that this would become Laura, but it didn't. It is expected to become a tropical storm if and when it will be named Marco, and then take a track towards the Yucatan Peninsula by Sunday morning, and we do have a tropical storm warning and a hurricane watch out because this could actually be near hurricane strength by tomorrow night and Sunday morning when it nears the Yucatan, and then after that become a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico by Monday. Around the same time, Laura should be a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. That's going to be crazy. And then weaken. is expected to get blasted, as the Hurricane Center said, with very powerful southwesterly wind shear and weaken to a tropical storm before coming ashore in Texas. But again, there's uncertainty. If you're in Louisiana, if you're in Mexico, you guys need to keep an eye on the track of this system because the models have been trending west. In fact, not just with this system, they've been trending west with Laura as well. I'll show you that in a minute. Nevertheless, hurricane watch for the Yucatan Peninsula. Here's the latest visible satellite, and you can see at the beginning, do you see that little curly Q? That is a low-level That is a low-level surface circulation. That is what we look for when we see a tropical cyclone. You have a closed spin at the surface in the low levels, and thunderstorms wrapping around that, and you can see thunderstorms are popping. So it's not very well organized, but it should become a tropical storm either later tonight or tomorrow, and then strengthen quickly as it heads towards the Yucatan, perhaps into a hurricane. But again, this system, the Hurricane Center was kind of perplexed. It had warm waters, good upper-level winds. It just couldn't get its act together, but that doesn't mean it won't. Now here are the computer models. Now I'm going to show you Laura first. Laura, they're in pretty good agreement that this system is going to continue north of west, nearer over Puerto Rico, nearer over the north coast of the Dominican, and nearer over the north coast of Cuba. So again, if it gets too much land interaction, it will not intensify. However, after it leaves Cuba and pulls away, we could see strengthening. And if it takes a northern track, we could see a lot more strengthening. So again, it's very uncertain. Nevertheless, in the longer term, as it's steered to the west under a building ridge of high pressure, look at these models beginning to head a little more towards Texas and western Louisiana. That's not what we were seeing. We were seeing more Florida the other day. And so we're going to watch this westward trend and see how much it continues over the next couple of days. But right now, everybody needs to be watching both of these systems very carefully. Likewise with our system, the depression, the models trending west. You can see currently the motion would take it right into Louisiana. The Hurricane Center has it bending into Texas. But notice some of these models here curling it west into Mexico, South Texas. That could be an indication that this ridge is going to build in strong enough to kind of break down this trophiness, this unusual trophiness along the Gulf Coast, which is tugging on our system here, pulling it towards the north. And as that ridge builds in, we could see stuff move further west. So we're going to watch this very carefully. Now this is the H-Wharf hurricane model for our depression, and you can see in 18 hours it makes it a strong tropical storm, and then it goes in the Gulf of Mexico, and it becomes a hurricane. And then it ends up making landfall as a 100-mile-per-hour hurricane along the Louisiana coast on Tuesday. Okay? That would not be a good situation. As far as our other storm, Laura, this is pretty scary. This is the H-Wharf model. You can see it takes Laura near Puerto Rico, over the north coast of the Dominican, moves it out into the Bahamas, strengthens it like mad over the Florida Straits, and puts it near Key West on Tuesday as a Category 4 hurricane. And then after that, moves it into the Gulf of Mexico and takes aim at Louisiana sometime by Wednesday as a very, very, very intense hurricane. Now, these hurricane models did pretty well with Hannah. We're going to wait and see. Hopefully this doesn't materialize, but it's a good indication that we got to keep an eye on it, okay? And make sure your hurricane plans are in place. The European ensembles take our systems to the west and then look at off Africa over the next, say, week or so. Another feature starts to move out, hurricane season cranking up. So it's something we got to keep an eye on. Wind shear is a problem for Laura, and it might be a problem for this system later on, but right now they both kind of have decent enough wind shear. The mid-level shear I'm looking at over Laura coming from the north here, that could be kind of impacting the vertical stacking of the system as it tries to get its stuff together. Nevertheless, the environment could be favorable later on as Laura moves further west, and that's why we got to watch both of these very, very carefully. Water temperatures are no problem. In fact, the further west you get, the hotter they get. Some of these buoys in the Gulf of Mexico, upper 80s, near 90 degrees. So our systems have no problem with hot water. In fact, if you look closely here, the closer this system gets to Florida, the hotter the waters will get. In the Pacific, Genevieve, don't have to deal with it anymore. It did bring gusty winds to the Baja. You can see it's a naked swirl down here, although it looks cool. And look at this. Look at the smoke from the fires in California. California is getting battered. Johnny Carson said when I was a kid after he retired, living in California is not too bad. The mudslides are putting out the fires. But from here on out, our focus is not going to be on Genevieve. It's going to be on our 2 tropical storms that'll be in the Atlantic Basin. Right now, Marco is likely to form from the Gulf system, and Laura is going to be a problem for Florida. We'll continue to track both of these systems as time goes by. I'm Mike Naso with the latest on the tropics. Stay tuned.